So we've all heard Chris say you should say your price up front as soon as you can.
You've got to say a price before you show it. That's why I want to talk about it up front verbally. And if it's not going to work, I want to know right now.
But when Mo tried to do it, he got this reaction.
Mo, all you want to know is the money. All you want to get to, and then I'm like, what do I do now?
So how do you find that balance between listening to what the client has to say without talking for an hour, and while also getting to the budget early without sounding too greedy? I'm Jonah, and this is The Future.
Mo?
Yo.
Start it off, man.
All right.
Chris and Mo are going to do a role play of how Chris would have handled the call if he were Mo. So just for context, this is a reenactment of a client call Mo had where he was in the backseat of Drigo's Jeep going through mountains where he could lose signal at any moment. The call was with an agency employee, but the project was for the employee's personal brand.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be Mo.
Okay.
2.0. You can just be
Christina.
Hey, Christina, due to circumstances I could not control, I'm in a car, I'm driving through mountains, and I want to make sure we get through the important part of our conversation today in the very likely event that we're going to get some interference, and I don't want that to happen. Is that okay? Because if I speak with some urgency, that's why, just to give you context.
I appreciate that. Do you want to reschedule?
If you would, if you don't mind, we could do that. But perhaps what we can do is try to talk about this and see if it feels right. And if it's going to go into a much deeper conversation, happy to reschedule and make it work. But I also respect your time, and I would hate to do that to you.
Wonderful. That sounds great.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what you're thinking. And get to that part fast. That's the detail part.
I'm trying to build my own personal brand to then leverage it to help other women that need to see somebody that represents them and is strong and is an entrepreneur. And I need content. I need somebody to manage my platforms, and I need to get to a lot of followers fast.
If you were to have whatever it is that you're describing, at least in your mind, what's the most urgent things? Let's just go through really quickly. Big picture, like what are the components that you need to get your personal brand launched?
Definitely knowing what kind of content I need to post, somebody to manage that content for me, and being able to increase my followers. Like by the end of the year, I want to have at least 100,000 people.
Fantastic. You just gave me a lot of high level objectives in terms of like just drill down the deliverables. Do you have an identity? Do you have a color palette? Do you have a brand voice? Have you written articles and made posts and videos before?
None of that. I'm just experimenting and seeing what works, but I need somebody to be able to manage that and ask those kind of questions and lead me in the right direction.
Okay. It sounds like you need a lot of work. The only other thing I need to know is how urgent is this for you?
I'd like to get started as soon as possible.
And let me just ask you this question. It's a very realistic question. If you don't get this thing done, is there any real financial impact to you right now?
No, because I'm full-time employed. So this isn't my only thing.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And is your employment contingent on how quickly you can set up your personal brand? Is the plan to quit your job and do this full-time?
I think that's long-term, but I actually want to leverage my position in my company for my personal brand.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So let me just quickly summarize what I heard you just say, okay? You have a full-time job. You want to really get this personal brand up and going. You're not quite sure what to do with the social media stuff. You need somebody to really kind of take control of that, get this thing off your plate so you can focus on your main job and then developing the real content for your second company. There is urgency behind this, but really it's because you need to get something going to build the groundwork for some eventual transition.
Right.
So it initially sounds a lot more urgent, but it really may not be as urgent as you think. And the only reason why I say that I want confirmation from you is because if it's urgent, you're going to have to spend money and you're going to have to move really fast. That does not sound the case, is it?
No.
Okay, fantastic. Now, just based on our preliminary discussion, what we're just talking about right here, I need to float some numbers in front of you. Because what I don't want to do is to have this really long, protracted conversation with you, only for both you and I to realize that as much as we love each other, we can't tie the knot because you can't afford it. Is that okay?
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually great.
Okay. So Now I'm going to break the project down. So it sounds like you need a content strategy. You need to develop probably even a brand Bible for who you are, what you want. So there's some visual identity stuff. There's some design work that needs to be done. And then we had to kind of figure out the strategy to get you to 100,000. Now, while driving here, I'm not driving. I just looked at your account. You're at 10,000 followers. So you're talking like a 10x growth here, right? And if you even break that down into months, it's like, this is a lot of work to get you these people organically, because we want organic growth. Don't hold me to this, but in a ballpark in the universe that I'm in, it could be as much as $40,000 to do this. And probably at the low end, probably like 18,000. Now, how does that sit with you?
Is that for the year?
That's just to get this thing going. But I don't want to make any kind of firm commitments to you.
Right.
I'm just telling you kind of the range of where we need to be. And it could be for the year. It could be in a month. I do not know, because I can't know this in talking to you for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But the first thing is we'd probably have to do some kind of strategic brainstorming, which will cost you money. But there's no point to do that if you can't afford the rest.
Right.
So let me know where you're sitting with this.
That's actually way higher than I could afford. I wasn't thinking beyond 4 figures.
What does that mean? How much are you talking about?
I was thinking no more than like 2,500.
Oh, low 4 figures.
Yeah.
So
you got to understand, like, this is all coming out of my pocket.
Oh, I expected that when you said it's a personal brand. Mm-hmm. The word personal implies that.
Is there no way to like work up to this? I mean, just to be really honest with you, not to disrespect you at all, there's no way that I can drop even the low part of your...
Yeah, it sounds like we're pretty far apart.
Yeah.
Because I gave you a pretty broad range from 40 to 18, and you're coming at 2,500. Look, I can get really creative, but I don't know how to stretch $2,500. Like, that just gets us through our first meeting and no deliverables. I don't think in good conscience I can recommend you even hiring me, even if you have to leverage other things. If you need to spend $2,500 and you think you can get this done from somebody, God bless you. Please do it, because I'm not your person. And if it works out for you, please tell them to call me, because I'd like to hire them too.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's not waste our time here. I just don't know what else I can do. It could be a function of maybe you have to do this bootstrap yourself and save some money, maybe buy some assets and templates. I do not know. But probably even from the world that you come from, in that corporate world, you understand the budgets that they're working with.
Right.
We're scaling it way back, because if it were for corporate, you could probably add a 0 or 2 to the numbers I just gave you.
My vision for this was to bring somebody on and work into it. So work up.
Right.
Yeah.
But even at, I mean, it's just, I don't sell myself on a day rate, but even at a $400 a day rate, let's just say, that doesn't buy you very many days. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. There's a misalignment between your expectations and what it costs actually to get a creative human to do this work for you. So maybe it's just a recalibration, but I hope you found this conversation to be productive and helpful to you. Maybe just as a first check, a temperature check, and we're way off here, right?
Got you. Well, I appreciate the honesty. And if there's anybody that you could recommend, now that you know kind of my expectations money-wise and what I'm looking to do, that would be really helpful, because it sounds like you might know some people. Yeah.
To be straight with you, to be honest with you, anybody that can do strategic thinking and help you guide your brand would not even touch anything like this for $2,500. So I could not recommend anybody, because I just don't know what they'd be selling you.
Got you. Okay.
You might get a logo.
Okay.
Maybe, because even for a logo, that's kind of on the bottom end.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And if you're super resourceful and like to manage people, I would say go to Fiverr and just test a bunch of people out. And maybe you can get really lucky and find somebody good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, great. I'm glad that we didn't lose connection on this.
Me
call,
too.
right?
Because I was when you said mountains, I was worried. So
yeah.
I'm glad we had a good convo.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate it.
Take care. Okay. Imagine this, both of you. Every time somebody stands in front of you and they have an opportunity, what is it that they need to know? Think about the 2 or 3 things that they need to know. If you need to, just write it down. I want you to really think about it. Do you know what the other person who's standing in front of you needs to know? So if I'm in a store and there's some high-end jewelry and there's no price tag, what do I need to know as a buyer?
Price.
Price is one. Service. Authenticity.
Right.
Do I like you? Because I can spend money elsewhere. I don't know. I don't know any of these things. I need to become an educated buyer really fast, and I'm not a person who buys jewelry, period. And so if I go in there and I'm like, and I don't even know how to ask, but what I want, and you're sitting there talking to me about the summer vacation, where you've been, the Hamptons, and this and that, and after a while, I'm like, how much? You don't want to tell me. So think about that for a second.
I don't want to be that guy.
Well, obviously, you don't want to be that guy. That's why I say
I want to be human. And even though we associated it with money, which there's probably an underlying thing there, but I don't
like that. I would prefer you just get rid of that. I want to be human, because I'll ask you a question when I was role playing.
I want to be fair in the conversation. I want to be
I just want to be real,
professional. Yeah,
how about I'm just going to be real with you? Okay, that's it. I owe you the truth.
Facts.
So when I was playing Mo and you were playing Christina, was I being human? I'm only not being human if I'm lying to you.
Yeah. You were being very, very real.
That's all it was.
And I felt very safe with you. Because you were so real. And I have
So isn't that interesting? It's the opposite of what we think.
Yeah.
We think if we postpone the point of conflict, the tense parts of a conversation, that we're going to be perceived in higher regard and esteem. But actually, we're kind of being lowered in esteem because we feel from the other side that you have something to hide, that you're beating around the bush and you're not being professional. Like, are we going to get to it? Do you know what you're doing, or do you not know what you're doing? Mm-hmm. Now, I obviously was not there, but even in your own recollection, having heard both parts, your part and my part, which person do you trust more?
Oh, you.
Which person do you have a better connection with? Which person do you think told you what you needed to know faster? Right? So I know how I can respect you, and I do respect you. I respect your time.
Yeah.
I wasn't rushing to get to the price point. I needed to know a little bit. I needed just to hear you and say, oh, okay. Because right now, what I'm thinking is, I know you want a price, and I need to give you a price as soon as I know enough. I don't need to know everything. I just need to know enough. So the best thing that we can do is to be clear, to be direct, and respect the person's time. If you want to be human, that's as human as you can be. You could think of it like this. Maybe this will help you. If you picture yourself as not the person who's selling or buying, but a matchmaker, that might help you out a lot. So I just happen to be one of your options, but I just want to make sure you find the best option for you. And for every budget and taste and style, there's a fit. It might require more work. It might require less work. And I'm going to step outside of myself and just talk to you like, what do you need as a person who's a matchmaker? Like when we talk about designing and building brands, that's matchmaking. We're trying to match your brand to the customers you hope to attract. In negotiation of a price and a scope, I'm also trying to match your timeline, your taste level, your budget, and whatever else you need to the right person or vendor or company. It's matchmaking, right? So if I was trying to matchmake you with my son or my daughter, you would say like, you're not a fair matchmaker because you have bias. But if I understand your needs and say, you know what, I have kids, but this is not good for you. You need to go meet somebody else. It's not, and in fact, I don't even know anybody because I mostly deal with people in the United States. It sounds like you want somebody from another country.
Yep.
Right? Even when you told me maybe you can refer someone, I didn't just say pleasantly, yes, I can.
You did.
I told you the truth. It's like, I didn't even know if I did. And I wasn't joking. If you found somebody, please refer them to me because I could use them. Because that means I can make money on these kinds of projects. And I don't know how. So what we need to do is be clear. We need to be direct, more so than polite. Because sometimes people confuse politeness and they just beat around the bush. They never get to it.
Yeah.
And that's aggravating. Another way you could have done this whole conversation is say like, I'd love to sit here and talk to you about the future, your branding and everything that you hope and dream of doing. But ultimately we're going to get to this point in the conversation where I'm going to need to figure out the scope and the budget, and you're going to have a reaction, positive, neutral, or negative. Should we just get to that part first?
I love that.
That's an option.
I love that. Because that to me is like, it's all on the table now.
Yeah, because otherwise this other thing that you're doing wasn't that real either, because you knew in the back of your mind, if
I'm going to have to talk about money at some point.
So here's how this works. And my wife and children have the same struggle with this. If there's a book in front of us And the last chapter tells us exactly how the story ends. They can't help but want to read the last chapter. They want to know how it ends, but all the fun is gone.
Right.
You already know how your story ends. We talk about the budget. So you go through the song and dance of like, let me go through chapters 1 through 12 and the background, the story and character development.
Yeah.
The hero's call to action, right?
Yeah.
And all the other stuff, the Joseph Campbell stuff in between. But you already knew how it ended. I don't know if that's any more real or any more present. Being present means I'm present to what's going on in my heart, my mind, my soul, and I'm listening to what you're saying. But I also recognize that you need to do something. I'm trying to get to that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know down in the comments below if you want to see more type of content like this, or whatever type of content you'd like to see. We'll try to make it happen. Anyways, I'm Jonah, and we'll see you all next time. Later. All right, I think I got, sponsored by Kodak. I wish.